Go live. Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. My name is Jennifer Waters, and I am part of the CNY fertility team. I'm happy to be here today. I hope everybody's having a good day. Today, we're going to just dive right into the subject, which is related to what I call intelligent aging. And in particular, I'd like to talk about the ovaries. I have so many women that I meet that really are working on their ovarian health, whether you're getting ready for a retrieval or doing an IUI or a transfer, regulating your cycles, whatever it is, whatever part of the journey you're on in terms of your fertility enhancement, your ovaries are essential. And so I'd like to discuss what are we defining as aging, what is intelligent aging, and what is causing us to age. So I think we all can agree that we're here for an allotted amount of time, right? I would love to meet the person that is sure that we can extend our lives. I know that that is a popular theory out there, but I believe the jury is out on that. I don't know for certain that we can extend our lives. A lot of people like to feel that way because it gives them a hope, a sense of immortality. But the facts are that we have an allotment of time. Now, what I do know for sure is that we can improve the quality of our time here. I know for sure because I have personally experienced that. Um, and we can decrease our negative symptoms and improve the quality of our time and how we are feeling. And so aging is just simply a progression of the amount of years that we're here. It doesn't have to be a collection of negative symptoms, right? A lot of our ideas about aging are really just brainwashing. You know, we have been programmed by the media to believe that as you get older, you have to take drugs. And it's just not true. I'm not saying drugs are bad. And some people, it has obviously saved their lives. But I know lots of people in their 70s that don't take any prescription drugs and they're completely healthy. Shocking but true. Okay, so um I think we can all agree that aging is considered to be a lack of energy production on a cellular level, right? So we've talked about mitochondrial function. And as you get older, and I know for myself in my 50s and everyone that I work on in the clinic, the number one complaint is tiredness, fatigue, a lack of energy. So we do know that as we get older, we lose the amount of energy we have, and that is on a cellular level, right? We know that aging is a mindset. We know that emotionally aging would be considered a lot of negative emotions that are stuck, right? Unless you are working on freeing yourself up emotionally, whether it's trauma relief work or emotional freedom technique or straight up psychotherapy or whatever you're doing, you want to free yourself up emotionally because our negative emotions bog us down. They affect how our organs are functioning. And so you want to be free and happy, right? As you get older. Absolutely. I know we've talked about this before. In particular, the ovaries are connected to resentment and creativity. So if you're not feeling as creative as you possibly can, you may actually feel resentful about that. Who knows? These are all just things to contemplate as you move along in your life. Aging is also a lot of inflammation in the body and gut dysbiosis. Not that children don't have either of those things, but they certainly have less in the body due to the cellular functioning is able to handle it better. But after a certain point, the scales are tipped and then the body can no longer handle it in the way that we used to. So what causes those scales to be tipped in a negative direction? Well, toxins. Well, mindset, of course. But unfortunately, I used to say, well, every spring you need to do a detox. Every summer you should do some purification practices. In the winter, it's a good time to sweat. This is the time, if you live in the Northeast or in the North where it's cold in the winter, it's a very good time to sweat because that's how we get out of heavy metals in particular, pull out of the body. Now I don't say that. Now I say every day you should do a little bit of detox. Your lifestyle choices are part of your purification practices. And there's lots of things that you can do, and that begins by not buying the things that are poison. I was hanging out with a friend last week, and she drove me somewhere, and her car had one of those scented things hanging in the window, the rear view mirror, and it was immediately I had a headache. It's toxin. It's neurotoxins. And so we should not be breathing in perfumes like this. Absolutely, it is affecting your brain. And that's the hard drive, right? So whether it's your water that you're drinking, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute with an article I read yesterday in the Post Standard, your air, invest in an air cleaner. If you live on a busy road and you want fresh air, you want to be able to open your windows, right? Everybody does. That means you're getting highway pollution coming into your bedroom, into your house. Mattresses, if you're buying a new mattress, that is a source of a lot of toxins. So please be careful. The organic mattress industry is huge, actually, because of that, because you're spending hopefully at least 8 hours a night on top of this thing, and you don't want it to be breathing out toxins right into you. Clothing, also be careful. A lot of, especially for kids, they have all that flame retardants, and that can cause hives and a lot of things. Our food source, we want to make sure as much as possible, not only does it not have glyphosate and Roundup, other things that are toxic to us, but pesticides and herbicides as well. And the other thing is synthetic vitamins. I see more and more women, they think, oh, I'm taking my daily vitamin, and then I'm going to add in some vitamin D and E and some other stuff. And if it's coming from a synthetic source, it is going to bog down your liver. In your liver and gallbladder, how well they're functioning is essential to your ovarian health. It's very closely involved. So remember, you're only as old as your cellular health. So I had a woman come in a couple weeks ago, and she had been tested on a certain biofeedback device, and she was in her early 50s, and she said, I'm only 31. The machine tested that her cells, the way her cells were functioning, were that of a healthy 31-year-old. So I thought, oh, well, that's awesome. This is some good news, folks. And it comes, and she eats well, and she takes care of herself, and it doesn't have to be that hard. So what I want you to do is do an inventory of the things that you're using every day. Examine your beliefs about aging. I don't like the term anti-aging, right? I really like intelligent aging because of what we just talked about. We're not reversing the clock, but we're improving the quality of our time that's here. Whether or not we can extend it, who knows? I don't know. Do you see success with eggs frozen at 37 unit? Oh, that's a good question. It's possible. I would say it would depend on the quality of the embryos that are currently frozen. And then, yes, there can be, especially if you increase stem cell production in your uterine lining right now, that can help facilitate implantation. In my current newsletter, if you sign up for it, I have a link to a research study that was done on stem cell production and recurring pregnancy loss. And it's pretty interesting what they say in terms of what they've tested for in the uterine lining. It's actually a lack of stem cells can be connected to miscarriage. So I want you to cultivate some courage. It takes courage to examine your mind and your choices and forgive yourself. If you have made bad choices in the past, it's okay. The past is over. We can learn from our mistakes. let's just try to make good choices from here going forward. Really, the most power we have is our buying power, right? We have the power to change our mind and our thinking, and then we have the power to change what we're purchasing. Hopefully, all of us have a little bit of wiggle room in our budget so that we can buy the better products out there. And then decide what purification practices you want to do on a day-to-day basis that are going to help you. Email me if you want. I have tons of ideas on my blog. It's my strength and my weakness is information, lots of information. They were not frozen, meaning I froze my eggs at 37, like to use them this year. They were not frozen as embryo. Oh, I see. I see. Well, then we don't know. We'll have to see. You've got to see. But please think positively about them. I know this is going to sound really hokey, but if you look at the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto, and he did those studies on showing the molecules of water and what happened to water when you said things like hate versus love, it is fascinating. And I hear a lot of couples say, oh, I just transferred some bad embryos or poor quality embryos. Try to not think that way, okay? What you're thinking and how you're feeling is directly impacting your cells. We can prove this. So try to just be neutral or above and say, thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for trying. Yeah, it's amazing, right? I'm not a very hokey person, but it really is true that it's having a direct impact on how we're feeling. So remember, your precious egg is being released into your follicular fluid, right? Your follicular fluid is a representation of your entire life up until now. Right? So if you're loaded with heavy metals and toxins because of the water you're drinking and the perfume and this body sprays and all of this poison, let's be honest, folks, the poison that you're putting on your body, then this egg being released into this follicular fluid is going to be damaged immediately. How could it not? Right? So you don't want to do that. You want to cultivate clear up the terrain of your body. I'm a huge fan of terrain theory. It makes sense to me. We want to clean up our organs, our endocrine system. I just read a study about thyroid dis-ease, and it's been linked to heavy metals in the water. Certain areas you can track diseases, and people get certain things why? Because of where they live, environmental toxins. So that's the bad news. The good news is it's not that hard to clean things up fairly rapidly. And it doesn't have to be painful. It can be fun. It can be easy. And we can do it together. Is Brita good for clean water? You know, it is one of the most affordable filters out there. I think it's a charcoal filter. It's not ideal, but if it's what you have, then use it. Zero water, I think I had that filter for a while. It depends. The filters changed. When I started with that zero, it was good. And then they changed the manufacturing of the filter, and it was the only water I ever drank that I felt dehydrated after. I think they took everything out of the water. I have, unfortunately or fortunately, I've tried a lot of different water filters. There isn't one that I absolutely love, but I am going to buy, my next one's going to be a water distiller, which I've been told is loud, makes noise on the counter, but it might be worth it if you're serious about your purification practices and you do feel that you have a toxic burden right now. Then look into getting a water distiller, especially if mold or fungus is one of your issues. Then I think it's really important, because what can happen is your water filtration system will get moldy and we don't know it. And then you have to be constantly changing these filters. And it's a lot to keep up on. So, and if you're going to buy water, purchase water in glass bottles. Don't buy plastic bottles. Why? Because plasticizers are endocrine disruptors. And these bottles, although they're refrigerated when you go buy them in those convenience stores, they've come from hot warehouses and trucks. So there will be, plastic in the water. So that's not ideal. That's the bad news. I know. So yesterday, I just want to share this quickly with you. I read this story in the Post Standard. I'm still a huge fan of the newspaper. I don't obviously believe everything that I read, but I am going to support printed media because we don't want this to go away. And I like to have things in my hand. I don't want to be forced to read things online. Talk about discrimination, right? I mean, geez, you have to have a computer or a phone to get the news. That's not fair. Anyways, there's a story yesterday here in upstate New York. New York moves to further regulate water contaminants. Now, wow, what a great idea, huh? Geez, hadn't thought of that. Here it is, 2022, and now we're doing this. Interesting. The state is moving forward on efforts to further regulate chemicals allowed in public water systems, including those that were discovered to have polluted supplies in Hoosick Falls for decades. Now, if anybody doesn't believe that you become your name, this is a perfect example. Be careful what you name your children because they fulfill their name destiny. I've seen it over and over. And this poor falls was named Hoosick, Hoosick, Hoosick Falls for decades. And what happened to these falls? The falls became very sick. No surprise there. I'm not going to read this whole article. You can get it on the Post Standard if you want to read it. It actually came from a writer from the Times Union in Albany, New York. So what he goes on to say is that known as forever chemicals, the synthetic compounds can remain in the human bloodstream for years and are associated with illnesses such as thyroid disorders and cancers. So this is what is in the public drinking water, folks. Okay. So even though it may taste good to you, I don't believe that it is that good, unfortunately. So get a water filter. And here's the next article. This was from Wednesday, September 28th. And the title is, How Chemically Sensitive Are You? And there's a quiz that you can take. And they're talking about intolerances to chemicals, and more than 50% of the 10,000 Americans that they surveyed had food sensitivities. So on the one hand, we can say, it's not the pineapple that's the issue. It's the environment the pineapple is going into. You're reacting. Now you're calling it an allergy. You're blaming it on the pineapple. It's not the pineapple. It's your environment. Now, I wouldn't say that that's really the case for like gluten and a lot of carbohydrates because they've been processed to create inflammation in the body. So everybody should be reacting in a way that's negative when you're putting in a harmful, something that's toxic. So, but otherwise, all of these food allergies people have, you can definitely outgrow them, especially environmental allergies. I've gotten rid of mine, 98% of them, by decreasing inflammation in the body, doing a lot of detox. So what they're calling TILT now is toxic induced loss of tolerance. And this is initiated by a one-time acute event or a series of exposures or long-term low-level exposures to toxic chemicals. This is TILT. Or triggering is caused by previously tolerated chemicals, foods, or drugs that cause mild multi-system symptoms. So, you could say, well, geez, I used to be able to eat bananas or whatever. Now I can't. Why? Again, because the scales have tipped. And what has tipped them? An accumulation, right? So your lymphatic system becomes congested and you don't know what to do. And there's lots of things that you can do. Everybody's quick to jump to pills, myself included, but the long-term changes begin with lifestyle. right? What we do every day with our lifestyle. Are you breathing well? Are you walking? Are you getting into nature? Are you chewing your food well? How well are you digesting? Are you eliminating well? How much water are you drinking? Can you put your phone down and detox from the media, social media, and all of that? Can you go to sleep early? Can you sleep through the night? So this is where it all starts. Then we can add in some more, I don't want to say aggressive, but potent ways to engage detoxification. There's lots of things that you can do. And so I'm almost done here. I'm going to say the potential initiators and triggers for tilt include pesticides, cleaning agents, including ammonia, bleach, and disinfectants. So all of this, our ovaries, as part of our endocrine system, the tissue is very, very sensitive. I think that's why so many women now have been diagnosed with PCOS, right? I would say it's probably the number one diagnosis that I see here at CNY Fertility is PCOS. And why is that? I think it's because the ovaries are extremely sensitive and accumulate toxins more easily than, say, our liver, that's constantly working to move and filter the blood and toxins. So solvents, including paints and glues, definitely be careful what you're doing. That is a good time to wear a mask if you're doing any painting. And on and on. It talks about things, new carpets, really be careful of that. Plasticizers, formaldehyde, fragrances. That's the thing. These fragrant candles and sprays and all of this, these are toxins. So do your best to avoid using them. And that is all for now. I'm going to put my website in there so that you can reach out to me anytime. I will do my best to respond. Okay, for sure, everybody's doing the best that they can. All we can do is continue to try our best, stay positive, support each other. Okay. JenniferWaters.net. Be kind. Okay. Care about each other. I think it's the most important thing, is to care about each other. And it's not that hard. It starts with yourself. All right, everybody, that's all for today. I will see you next week. Okay. Halfway through any solution. Oh, well, I'm going to have to end. Facebook user, I'm not sure what your name is, but yes, there are things that we can do to help you depending on your situation. Right? So this is where we want to do some intelligent age reversal. And so why don't you go ahead and email me and we'll have a chat. Alrighty. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.